Welcome back to Deep Thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. I got a question for you. What if the only reason why you don't dream at night is directly and proportional to your subscription to being a human being? The more you see yourself as a soul-based being, the more you dream. Because that's what you really are. You know what's interesting about evolution and the theory of evolution? Any talk about sort of where we came from, who we were, Neanderthal, hominid, Cro-Magnon. Remember when I told you that, the truth flowing through you should make you feel wonderful, cool, relaxed. And I mean cool as in opposite of hot. It's a harmonic that feels good. But when you hear a lie, it makes you feel bad. It's an agitation. Creates cancer in your body because it's untrue. And then we, for those of us that have studied it quite a bit, which is a lot of you, we sort of kind of go, well, there's a bunch of different theories about why evolution is taught the way it is. Now, evolution on one fundamental level could be recognized as simply tribes of one part of the world breed with tribes of a different part of the world, and you get a hybrid. You get a mulatto person. That's sort of evolution, isn't it? Geometry mixes. It's evolution. That person goes on to mate with a similar mate or other mates, and they're going to create a different type of human being. I don't think anyone has any sort of misunderstanding about that part of evolution. But this idea that we come from animals such as primates, they try to use the Genome Project to reinforce it. What if one of the biggest reasons to teach you evolution in any biological history of the human form is to simply get you to grip on to this human form more and more and more? I've been trying to study friends of mine that say they don't dream versus friends of mine that say they do dream. My sort of sample set of the statistics I'm trying to figure out about these individuals is what's unique about these people that don't dream. What's unique about the people that always dream and dream very intensely. I'm going to tell you, I have isolated what I believe to be something very vivid. People who are very existential, very spiritual, dream like a mofo. People who are so sure about where we came from, and even if they say, "Hey, man, I don't believe the science is that made 2020 happen," they still believe in enough science that they've indoctrinated themselves into this planet such that they can't release themselves at night when they go to sleep. But what I think is interesting about having a dream is that's a moment when you're not so bound to this world. You're so relaxed that you simply lose control of your indoctrination. You're asleep. Now, we know that sleeping is sort of a BS need in the world. Yeah, scientists or doctors, why you need to sleep. You get a bunch of hocus pocus crap. You absolutely do. Oh, you're filing away your memories. How the hell do you know? You have no fucking clue if I'm filing away my memories. Stop using these stupid excuses. Your body needs to rest. Oh, yeah? Okay. So I'm asleep. My autonomic system's taking care of my breathing, my heartbeat. How much of my body's actually still functioning? I'm going to suggest about 96, 97% of your body's still functioning. So how am I getting this rest that you're talking about? They say all this crap about the REM state of sleeping. Oh, you have all your dreams during REM state. Well, apparently I'm in REM state my entire night. I dream from the moment I start dreaming to the moment I wake up. I get up, I got a ritual. Maybe this helps you if you're having a dream that you enjoy. If you're in a world that you enjoy and you wake up, you're like, oh man, gotta take a pee. Drink that glass of water just before I went to bed. That iced tea before I went to bed. Here's what I realized. If I look at my telephone, if I open my eyes, if I try to do anything independent out of just simply functionally getting out of bed, going to the restroom, come back into bed, hopping in bed. No speech. No nothing. I can walk right back in my dream. If I take a moment to check my phone, what time is it? Did anybody send me any messages? Getting back into that particular dream is almost negligible. It doesn't happen. I've distracted myself. It's an interesting idea that all that's happening to us is that we're simply being convinced to latch on. A sense of security, the same type of sense of security that a child has when they are growing up. I mean, seriously, at a point, a child simply goes, where the hell am I? Oh, I have a body. Oh, they have bodies. Oh, it appears to be that those are unique souls stuck in a body container, temporarily human. Where am I? Oh, there's I'm on this place called Earth. I'll probably live my whole life and never know the shape of it. Hence the reason why space travel has never become a product that's ever been sold. I feel like our dream world, as I've suggested in several dream episodes, is one of the most ultimate clues of reality. It is bestowed as a opportunity for all living beings. Look at a dog dreaming who starts kicking his legs, starts barking. There's a funny meme out there, a video meme of a dog in a kitchen. Man, he's going nuts. He's having the most incredible dream of his life. He's barking. And he starts running in his dream. He doesn't have the paralysis drug in his body, so his legs are moving like crazy. Even the, Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland. There's a dude talking to pigs or whatever, and one of the pigs has a little twitching leg. He's dreaming. They put it in the ride. Well, that's us. The more that you believe you're part of this realm, though, you got it all figured out. You needed to be content with having it all figured out. Might just subtract your mind from having a truly amazing experience in a dream. Let me give you a little tip. The more that you endorse your soul, the more that you separate yourself from being human, the more that you don't believe in death anymore. Death is merely the vessel that we're in, ceasing to function. Again, it doesn't mean that we're not going to miss each other, that there's not going to be some inconvenience. But where I think we end up going is a euphoric dreamland. Potentially. As I've said in my circle of life, I said, dreams are the student films of the gods. When you're in a dream, depending on if it's a positive one or a negative one, it pains me to hear that adults have nightmares. Now, this is irrespective of an acute event that may have recently occurred in your life. It's an opportunity to defeat your enemy. Something's after you. Well, realize it's your dream. You're in charge. And you can decide to conquer it. Decide to turn the predator into prey. It is the most empowering thing on planet Earth, man. When I was a kid, I had to defeat this reoccurring enemy. And as an adult, the second that I'm in a dream where something turns into an enemy, I might run for a few seconds out of sheer impulse, but the big thing that happens is once I sort of like take a few steps and I go, wait a minute. This thing's chasing me in my own dream. Even if it's the most abstract monster, and I've had those too, where it's like it's not a hardcore, well-lit dream where it's some set and some actors, I will turn and I'll get that adrenaline. I'll be all wound up, but man, I am stalking this thing. Similar to the way I would do it in real life. Someone's chasing me in real life, I will immediately make them renegotiate their life because they will immediately go, my God, he's coming after me. This is not what usually happens. Usually I pull out a gun and someone runs for me. This dude's coming at me. What the hell am I going to do? Make him piss his pants a little bit, even if he gets you. But subscribing to being human, I think, is a It is sort of a paradigm that will lead to a lot of negative feelings. Why wouldn't it? You are born, you live, and you die. You feel trapped because if something is going wrong in your life, you feel like, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this thing? But as much as you might believe in God, you're still unsure about the afterlife. I mean, so unsure about the afterlife. So many religious institutions take a piss on reincarnation. And it's unbelievable to me. Somebody told you reincarnation doesn't happen, and you just go, well, the church says. Hey man, Christ never talked about it, so even if you're a Christian, you need to relax. The dude never said, as far as I remember, that you only live one life and that's it. Why would you? It makes no sense. But think about it. Someone gives you a mystery. Humans love mysteries. It's called evolution. Well, see, these primates look just like us. I mean, some of them look very similar to us. Isn't it obvious we came from them? Without ever really getting into the evolutionary process of like, why the hell do they still exist? I mean, how did they not evolve? If evolving is an obligatory moment in time, something that must occur because it's simply genetically encoded in these beings, how did they not evolve? How did that not happen? It's all BS. But aren't we, as the Western world, the press, books, science, man, it takes a big crap on everyone who's awake. Everyone who truly knows who we are, even though they might not have the details. Who knows? They might have all the details. But they say we are flesh and blood. There is no soul. You die and that's it. That's the Western world. Whereas the other parts, the Eastern cultures, man, they've got a whole ecosystem. They have several ecosystems. The Native Americans were different than the tribes of South America, is different than the Japanese, different than the Hindus. Isn't it interesting that as you get stuck under some Jesuit reign over your existence, you go from being a free-flowing soul to answering to one dude that tells you he's just anointed. He presides, I won't get into this deeply, but he presides over some of the greatest sins on planet Earth. The agents of the church rape children in the Catholic system. And believe me, they still do it in a bunch of different divisions of the church. It's power. It's ignorance. It's indoctrination. That's why I don't like it when people worship Donald Trump as some sort of deity, like he's some god on earth. That's unhealthy as well. And again, we've never heard him say that he wants that sort of admiration. It's imperative that we don't do that. This isn't a political episode. What if the more you remove yourself from this notion that your true identity, your true being in the universe, is related to being human being, and you see yourself as a soul? And the more you see yourself as a soul, well, when you go to bed at night, even though perhaps as a human being, because we do have our previous life, I wouldn't say erased, but definitely held back from our consciousness, otherwise we go nuts, you have more dreams. You know, when I read the articles about Native Americans who are more spiritual, and they likened it to longer hair, I'm sitting there thinking, my God, the more I woke up, the more I wanted to grow my hair longer. It was weird. From 2005 to 2007, I had a video game company. I mean, it was longer than that, but I mean, for those 2 years of the inception years, I got so busy, I just kept letting my hair grow. I'd only done it like kind of semi-mullet in the early 90s, like 1990. Never after that had really short hair. The more I grew it out, the more I became spiritual. The more it became natural to become spiritual. The more I felt like I had antennas attached to the universe. I would see the truth first, then investigate it exhaustively. People on the ground, people online, documentaries. It's like, oh my God, how did I get this complex reality before I knew it was true? Maybe it's my subconscious solving problems in the back. But man, this was so specific. And nothing negates the fact that when we dream, we're the best 3D artists in the world. You ever play music in your dream? Oh my God. It's the most beautiful stuff in the world. Doesn't matter what you touch, a guitar, piano, sing, doesn't matter. It is like angels have created perfect tones, perfect sequences of music. I don't believe in all my musical dreams I have ever heard anything short of instant perfection. What's interesting for me, in the last month, I just did an episode called The Alien Plan, and I told you guys that I don't have dreams, and this was totally true when I said it, where I actually look another human being in the face within a dream and have a conversation with them. Focus on what they look like. Prolonged over 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. No sooner do I make that episode than I've had 2 dreams, probably the last 2 weeks. One, I was in this it's sort of like an airport mall corporate building. And I walk up to this woman who I do not know, but I can see her face. I focus on her. And I think I recognize her. And so I say, I don't know. I'm sorry I'm looking at you, but I totally feel like we know each other. And in the dream, I reconciled her to a company that I know she didn't work for, that I had worked for somewhere in the early 90s. But we must have talked for about 2 to 3 minutes. Where did you work? No, where are you? Who are you? What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. Then about a week later, I had another dream where I'm at some event in a building, like a convention center or something, but more like some private meetup group or something. And a dude and I are working on the table where you come get your coffee. And there's all these sweeteners and stuff like that. And he's trying to help me sort it. I was sorting it out. He's trying to help me out. But he's kind of making a mess. And so I was just having fun with the guy. I said, well, I need you to take those over to that table over there. And he's not doing it. And so I made a joke, I was like, hey, no. I need you to take those over there. I didn't say to move them around this table. Take them over there. It's a very fun-loving situation between this dude and I. But I looked at that guy for 2 or 3 minutes. I don't have any memory of doing that in the past. Dreams are weird. And that we get to fantasize at unbelievable levels of accuracy. Once you become a 3D artist, I will tell you that dreams become more and more mind-blowing. You are dreaming in full 3D. All the lighting, whether it be night, day, afternoon, morning, whatever, is all accurate. Plus, the world continues to change usually. But you're dreaming up countrysides and buildings and skyscrapers and houses and rooms and whatever. Stuff from your past, something from your future. But you're still piecing it all together. I have definitely walked around my hometown, old houses that I've lived in. But it's not exact. But there's no tearing of polygons. The surfaces, the materials that make up the carpet and the wall and all that ceiling and stuff. There's no errors. In fact, it's pretty seamless. It transitions. And it's weird. But for decades now, I have been very existential about what I am as a person. As a result of the show, and dropping acid at least 3 times in my lifetime with more and more dosage, I have separated from this body as the constraint. It's something that, you see that you can't unsee. You see the universe in a complete different way. It is said that the scholars of the world were dropping all kinds of stuff. The Christmas tree being the mushroom with the little red cap with the white dots on it were picked and then hung on a pine tree because they grew under pine trees. Deer used to eat those underneath the trees. So all this was combined in a metaphor for us later. Red and green is simply the mushrooms and the tree mixed together. But they are hung on the tree to dry, hence the ornament. Preachers or priests used to eat them. And imagine without any indoctrination of much magnitude, you're tripping balls and it's like Who the hell knows? 50,000 BC. And now you're seeing geometric shapes for the very first time. You never had a geometric shape before in your life. You didn't grow up with a Etch-a-Sketch. Maybe you would take a piece of paper. I mean, you didn't have papyrus really, but maybe you draw a square. Maybe you divide it in half. You divide it in half again. Then you start to connect little vertexes together and you start getting sort of sacred geometry. But let me tell you, when you drop acid and you look at the sky, I've never done it at night, but you see the symbol of life, which is the sphere with all the extra spheres inside, all concentrically put together. But once you see it, that expands your mind if you've never seen it before. Imagine that. We grew up with that imagery in the modern world. But in the ancient world, it was brand new. And so you feel like this is going to be a spiritual thing. The universe itself is showing you some sort of mathematical accuracy. Again, it was Socrates, I believe, that was credited with this test to show you that there were two different dimensions of existence. He said, envision in your mind, close your eyes and envision in your mind a circle. Now, open your eyes. Here's a writing you implement, and here's some paper. Write down, draw the perfect circle you saw in your mind. And when you can't do it, he says you noticed that in your mind you could see effortlessly draw a circle. But when you came into this world, you couldn't do it. That is proof that there's a divine, perfect plane of existence that you have complete access to with your brain. But as soon as you get into this world, you have your instrumentalities, which are known as your hands, and you can't make it happen. So let's say he actually said that. So you adopt at this Socrates level, or Socrates in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, that there's these two dimensions and you live with that knowledge, but you live in it with almost like in a level of comfort that you can access it with your mind, but you can't actually access it with your hands. Okay, great. Fast forward a couple thousand years and we do not have two dimensions of reality. We only have one dimension of reality because he doesn't exist anymore. You simply can't because you're human. You're flawed. You should hate yourself. You should get rid of yourself on planet Earth. The great calling, as they're calling it, right? Where everyone gets exterminated. One, don't worry about being exterminated. Just don't. I'm not trying to sell you their plan. Trust me. But where you're going to go is the best dream you've ever had in your life. And that's going to be a reality. They're the suckers dying to live here, you know? It's sort of like a person that won't grow up. There are pre-adolescent subscription to having less, to being less of who they could possibly be. We get transcended into pure soul form, and they have to stay down here in body form. And like, hey, man, I own everything on this planet. And you're like, hey, knock yourself out. I get to play in the universe. And I don't own it. No, neither does anyone else besides perhaps the Almighty. And he shares. So you just knock yourself out there. Divinity is on the other side of this existence. In this life, you're on your own. It's interesting when I see animals in the wild be sort of domesticated. I'm watching this hilarious Amazon Prime special by Jeremy Clarkson where he is taking a sabbatical between his Grand Tour episodes with his buddies. And he owns a bunch of land. And so he finally decides to become a farmer. Which, unbelievably, man, my farming genetics have just activated watching this show. It's tremendous. I just want to drive a tractor, I swear to God. Livestock, though, a little bit different. But in his livestock sequence, what he's purchased are chickens and lambs. Chickens are pretty automated. Just have to protect them from the wildlife. But lambs are very tough. And, of course, COVID hits. He starts the special in November 2019 with no clue that COVID's coming around the corner. And it comes around to 2020, and he is now dealing with growing crops that no one wants to buy, growing lamb that even when slaughtered can't be sold because none of the restaurants are open. You shear a lamb, no one's buying the wool because all the factories are shut down. So everything he's done to make money is tanking hardcore, but it's still incredibly fascinating. But you look at wild animals being sort of corralled by human beings. It's funny. They're lambs. What is the metaphor for a serf human being? SERF. They're lambs, led to the slaughter. Again, soldiers are considered cattle, and people are considered lambs. Both in the eyes of the elite, dispensable. Now, we can get all involved in fighting for our rights when we're here on Earth, as we should. Why not? Who cares if you reincarnate? You are fighting to make this realm that people are stuck in pure ignorance, wake up and have a better life, right? But we indoctrinate animals to accept weird paradigms of existence. I've mentioned it several times, but the whole thing from Westworld, where they talked about the fact that, why does an elephant pull on the stake when they're, I don't even know how big an elephant gets. It seems like about 5-10 ton elephant is looking at a stake with a rope attached around their neck, and they won't try to pull on it. Because when they're babies, they're tied up like that, and they do pull on it, and they can't get away. And eventually they just know, if a rope is around my neck and a stake is in the ground, in my eyesight, I can't escape. That elephant has been indoctrinated into believing that stake will stop them. We're exactly the same. Lambs, well, that's all they do. They just follow the dog, they follow the noise, they follow the person in front of them, grab the tail. And we look at them and we pity them in one way. We're glad they behave in another way. We're exactly the same. We're exactly the same to the degree that we subscribe to those paradigms of existence. Anything. Consequently, none of those animals eat meat. That's what's interesting. Serfdom. So I would, in the middle of this episode, I want to suggest that if you have a lot of dreams, I'd like to know how much you are existential. The less you have dreams, how much are you subscribed to paradigms that you're a human being, that you don't have a soul? Because when you go to sleep, I'm just going to tell you my ritual at night, especially in the last probably year, as my dreams have become evolvingly more intense every single night I go to sleep. I work really hard all day. I burn myself out. It's anywhere between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to sleep. Yeah, I mess with my iPad for a couple seconds before I go to bed. Play a couple games that take about literally 60 seconds to kind of visit them and update stuff. But as I'm sort of taking off this jacket after a show, gonna brush my teeth, wash my face, take a leak, whatever it is, I am utterly excited about going to sleep because I know a dream is coming. I just know it is. And I know that the way my dreams work is that I'm given a world to dream in. That world has so many days that it's going to be used up. A short stay, it doesn't usually have a short stay. Sort of the minimum time frame is about a week. It's like the set, the actors, and the overall drama that can be pushed into that paradigm goes about a week. A long stay would be 2 weeks, but that's pretty rare. As soon as I go into the next week, it doesn't have any calendar alignment. I get a new world, new set of people, a new feeling. It's different lighting, it's different sets, it's different people. The drama is different. And so I get excited every night I go to bed. Every night I go to bed, I think about the fact that it's like, okay, this is a really weird existence that I'm in. I'm sort of in a matrix. I'm in this body. Comes with a bunch of history in this world. A bunch of bullshit and a bunch of reality. It's no mystery that the bullshit is being, pushed on us as a reality, and reality is being hidden considerably. Because those who benefit from us believing in the bullshit are running the game. Those who suffer greatly and become powerless once truth is discovered, well, it's pretty obvious why that is the enemy for them, and it is absolutely the ally for us. Now, my dreams aren't giving me, huge epiphanies of anything typically. I'll play music on one. The other day, 2 days ago, I was on a piano and I was playing, and it's almost like I'm playing a player piano. But the music is something new, something interesting. No matter what I touch, it's perfect. It's because that realm of existence doesn't have a flawed existence. It is too ancient. It is as old as all things. So the only thing that can exist in that realm is pure perfection, at least in my experience. Why do we have nightmares? It's because we are taking to bed our imagination. We're taking a seed from this world that is corrupt, and we're planting it in the dream world. And then, of course, it grows. And it's almost an automated mechanism for us to deal with something that we need to conquer. I thought it was fascinating that when I finally conquered this reoccurring character in my dreams from probably, 3 to 7, once I conquered this thing, and even though that particular dream actually had had Linda Carter in it, it ended with another sort of tormenting kind of last vision. I still woke up thinking, well, the Linda Carter thing that happened at the end was a little bit weird. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was this sort of mannequin with the sliced neck without the head, And I'd wake up and I'd have the sheets up to my neck. This is like 3 to 7. I had this porcelain train around my edge of my bed, big, thick porcelain. And it was a female voice. I think it was my mom's voice. My mom didn't do anything weird to me when I was a kid, but this mannequin would slap the bed and say, "Get up, get up." And so I'm like trying to squirm out of the sheets, but as soon as I start squirming out of the sheets, the train starts kind of wobbling and it's going to fall off the bed. It's going to break. And she's like, don't break the train. Of course, I gave a shit when I was a little kid. So eventually at 7, I was like, fuck you. Boom. I threw the sheets on her, the comfort and everything on her, broke the train, whatever. And I was just like, fucking just pounding this thing. And then I walk off and I go in this side bathroom and that chick's dead. Done. Not chasing me. It's over. I stuck up for myself at 7. I go in the bathroom. And Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, baby. She's sitting in this burgundy robe with her beautiful hair down. And she's smiling at me like, hey, baby. And so I go, and I'm a little kid, right? So I sit in her lap. Still, I think I'm a baller at 7. So I'm like, something's going to happen here. And she smiles at me, and then her whole head falls out of her hair. Her hair stays up, and that neck is right there. And I hear this hideous laugh. So I'm like, whoa, and I wake up because it's this kind of nightmarish ending. But I didn't have that dream again for another 5 years. Had it one more time, and it was instant brawl, man. That chick showed up, that mannequin broad showed up, and I was like, we're just going to go for it. Either you're going to kill me, or I'm going to kill you, right? And we fought. Apparently that night, by the way, I sleptwalked at my uncle's house, which is kind of funny. I sleptwalked from about 7 to 12. It's kind of funny. A lot of funny stories. Pissing in the refrigerator, walking down the fucking gravel road in the middle of the country, barefoot. It's weird, man. It's so strange. Luckily, my kid never sleptwalked. But it's interesting. I had to resolve that issue. My dad thought it was funny to terrorize me. I love my dad to death, but he was young. He was terrorizing me. He showed me these absolutely terrifying movies, and then he would bring that out in my world. After the movie's over, he's freaking me out in the house, I kind of love it because in the end, it made me very resilient to anything that actually happens in the real world. It's like, man, it can't be any worse than that little African doll. You take the necklace off and it's running around with a little knife chasing you. Or The Exorcist or whatever else I was watching. The hand that got cut off from the dude was crawling on its own in the 50s or whatever. So by the time you deal with like a punk at school, you're like, at least you're human. Let's brawl. Let's do whatever we need to do, man. Now, growing up, I don't remember having a tremendous amount of dreams from like, I'd say 12 to about 17. At 17, I started having wild ass dreams again. Don't exactly know why. But I've had dreams so much that I used to have a lot of reoccurring places, as I've mentioned in several dream episodes. I haven't actually had that vividly in the modern age here. I have places that feel the same. But again, I'm going to bed every night. I don't want to recap all my dream episodes for you folks, but as I go to bed, literally laying my head down on my pillow, I am sort of making peace with the fact that I am having this amazing experience as a human being. But I am not technically human. It's a hard thing to say where, like, I do think I'm human, of course. I am doing this human jig right now. But when it really comes down to it, what I really am is a soul. I really honestly feel like that's the case. And it, feels kind of weird. It feels kind of like, again, it's weird to feel like you're something that you're not allowed to experience in its pure form. But I think it's very liberating at the same exact time. It makes me wonder, we talk a lot about aliens on the show. There's all kinds of really esoteric alien stories where people said they were abducted, pulled into a UFO, like a mothership type level vehicle. And they are portraying themselves, this is according to those folks that were kidnapped, that the aliens are essentially the sort of caretakers to the souls. And there was one very vivid story, someone said, where they said that they were impregnated and that they actually met the soul, which was a ball of light that came out of a room. Now you have great aliens everywhere in this vehicle, and here comes this ball of light. And just that's all it is. And they said, "This is your child. You are pregnant right now, but you haven't attached the soul yet. So you have this flesh growing inside your womb, and here comes your child." And this woman described meeting their child before it embedded into them, and it said this orb went down inside their body, just right through them, and bound with the biological entity, which is the embryo. And then they actually did in real life have a child. And they felt like they met their child before they actually gave birth to the child. Very, very interesting. I don't think that everyone has a child is getting visited by great aliens to be, introduced or matchmaked with their children. I think that's a very natural thing that actually occurs. And it would seem that, again, like I've mentioned, ethereal episodes, I do believe that there's something about the way that the mass energy, same thing, orbits in this universe that acts as almost a lure, a catch, a hook in the cheek of this soul energy. And that we, at the moment where the sperm and the egg actually throw a spark of electricity, that there is something about that is the actual binding moment between the soul layer, that it's undetectable by electron sensors, which is the only thing scientists will ever acknowledge is real. I mean, what a ridiculous thing. If scientists can't make a machine that senses it, it doesn't exist. But as I've said in several previous episodes, the human construct is the most brilliant sensor that the universe has bestowed upon this little place that we are. They tell you have 5 senses. Well, immediately, if you subscribe to that, you are then subscribing to the mechanism of the human body. And when you go to bed at night, you're going to limit yourself to those preconceived notions, those preconceived paradigms of existence. Well, you're robbing yourself. You are utterly robbing yourself. You have as many senses as the universe has, however many that is. And I assure you, it is way over 5. Your ability to sense life in that other dimension is probably 1-to-1. But if you don't believe you can, guess what? You get what you ask for. Again, when I did my existential episode, my lead-in statement was, what if the greatest secret to the universe is that we create it? We control it. But no one ever tells you. And so you subscribe to being subservient to everything that they teach you in this world. My God, how limited would that be? Think about it. We know there are individuals that the world as a predominant force of perceived reality has anointed up to the controllers. It's unfortunate. I think a lot of us are probably exponentially more intelligent than they are. But they don't want to live in unknowns, and so they go with the most popular, provable, probably unfounded definitions of reality. And they sell it to us, we swallow it, and therefore they're like, hey, it works, man. You can teach a lamb to obey the sheepdog. But as long as the lamb just finally looked at the sheepdog and said, you know what? Fuck you, dude. I'm going to go wherever I want to go. You can bark all you want. I'm going to ram you in the head. The dog would be powerless automatically. Grasshoppers and the bugs from Bug Life, right? Bug's Life. That's us. We're buying it. They're selling it. They get ultimate control over us. They literally tell us how to live our lives. Is that not the most ridiculous thing on planet Earth? Take one little example. Wherever you are in the world, take the Queen of England. Now, maybe you live next to Buckingham Palace, so this is not going to be a good example for you. But let's say you live in Australia, Canada, United States, anywhere in Europe, Africa, South America, Eurasia, Asia, as a subset of Eurasia, Russia as a subset of Eurasia. And these people are telling you that they're in charge. They own you. Your name is in all caps on the birth certificate because your parents sold you to the system unknowingly. Maritime law, excuse me. Okay. All paradigms in your brain. And 100% grade A bullshit. But it's limiting your perception of what you can do in this world because you swallow it. What happens when you stop swallowing it? What happens when you do what my co-host at MK Ultra used to always say, I'm not buying what they're selling anymore. It goes away. And suddenly, all of your dreams, all of those limitations, all those constraints that you believe you had on your system, oh my God, they all evaporate. You are a sovereign soul who has taken some mass energy and you have been bestowed into a human form. You can hear my voice. It's going through this Nikola Tesla set of inventions. Not one Einstein invention is involved in us experiencing each other. Interesting. Had Einstein gone first and bullshitted the world, stealing everyone else's stuff, say about 1840, he had published all of his papers, special relativity, general relativity. And let's say Faraday studied him, Volta, Ohm, Tesla, Steinmetz. All these people had studied Einstein. We would not be able to have this conversation right now because nothing would be invented. And all because of the consumption of crappy paradigms by imposters, posers, or a poser. It's a damn good thing these other dudes went first. Otherwise, the world would be very primitive. Maybe it'd be better because we wouldn't have social media. I don't know. But we wouldn't be having this conversation as easily. I wouldn't be able to publish a video and have, 35,000 people watch a video. I'd have to get out and, public places. We should be able to live in a world where we understand what we are. Every single day, how rich would the conversation be if we understood that we are temporarily human, but we are infinitely a soul? And you're buying a cup of coffee from someone. And the other theory that we're all the same being. all living the same life, just at different times with different identities. And so that person in traffic that's pissing you off, that's driving too slow, you realize for a split second that that's you. And even though you're frustrated with yourself, you acknowledge it, but you're frustrated. Like, God damn it. What am I in that realm? Oh, I'm an old white guy driving a car crappy. Well, you think, I must be screwed up. It must be old. Driving a car must be overwhelming. Or I'm a young girl and I'm like, she's driving me nuts. She's driving too slow, driving too chaotic, maybe even driving too fast. The other kid is a teenager is driving too fast. But we realize that that's us, simply in a different body at a different time with a different name, with a different family. But that's us. To hurt them is to hurt ourselves, which is why we feel like crap every time we're mean to someone else. And the reason why we feel so joyous when we help another human being, because it's us. It's our soul being recycled in a nonlinear time mechanism. Once you stopped adopting this secular view, or even an organized religion view of what you are, and you start dialing out to a much more neutral phase of existence, again, to dispose of all organized religion in one realm, that all those stories are analogies. They're parables. Jesus taught in parables. Why wouldn't he be a parable? But you definitely want to listen to what he said about behaving. Definitely listen to the Old Testament's 10 Commandments. So much of the advice about how to behave, how to be good to each other. Well, that's the fundamentals of our existence, perhaps. Once you adopt that over sort of this selfish, man-made paradigm of just take care of yourself and screw everybody else, the Satanistic mantra of existence. Remember, Satanism, according to those who have been deeply involved with it, they say, look, if you go in that room and to a Satanistic church and you say you actually believe in Satan, you believe in Jesus, God, even if you're saying, hey, I'm against these positive examples of religion, according to some of the experts who've been in it for years, they said, look, they think that you're nuts. They think that you're stupid for believing in those things. It's not about that. It's about being selfish to the absolute extent that you need to be selfish to get what you want. That in itself is pure Satanism. It's a name. It's another organized religion. But that negates the life cycle of our existence on this planet, doesn't it? My advice to you when you go to bed is to test this theory out. Realize that dreaming is available to most animals that we know of. I mean, I'm not sure that we understand whether or not an insect dreams. Every animal seems to exhibit some realm of it. You know, we don't sit around watching cheetahs dream at night. We don't watch lions necessarily dream, but I'm sure they're kicking their legs and they're roaring in the middle of the night while they're asleep. It's an enforced cycle on all living beings, almost as if, as I suggest in the Origin of Man episode a long, long time ago, this was sort of us designing the universe, us saying, hey, you know how we are sort of in the Q continuum, we live forever? Yeah. And that kind of sucks. Yeah, eventually you do everything. Yeah. I got this new idea. Okay, what is it? We're going to create this temporary paradigm of existence, which is like the Matrix. You're going to be this thing called humans, right? As the Ferengis would say. Good old Quark, man. Love that dude. You're going to be birthed. You're going to have your access to your previous history completely erased, except we're going to keep the instinctual sort of average mean of your education in this universe present for you. So if you're a good person, you'll be a good person. If you're a bad person, well, you're going to get a chance to kind of clean that mess up. And this is the video game that you're going to be playing. Like, that sounds great. But in order to make sure, it's almost the way I see it in my brain is we're all sitting around the table. Someone pitches this idea. We all agree to it. But someone says, okay, wait. I don't want to completely not have access to this beautiful world that we have, because what you're saying is pretty cool, but it has a lot of restrictions. So how about we do this? On a particular cycle, All living beings, no matter what I reincarnate as, it has a dream cycle. And the dream cycle is us being able to come back to this realm that we're currently living in. There's no bills, there's no taxes. You can be in a euphoric state the entire time you're in this other realm. There's a break every night, every day. And you can maybe use a chemical to get past a few of these cycles, but you're eventually going to sleep. And so we have good intentions. We start at this universe. We start becoming these beings. Maybe we're a gray. Maybe we're an insect. Maybe we're a dog. Maybe you're a cat. Maybe there's a beautiful hierarchy to the whole thing. Maybe you graduate to human being, but then you're kind of a feral human being. You're more selfish. You're less intellectual. Life is troublesome to you. But the more you keep coming back, it's like, oh, man, I'm a people person. I dig interacting with other human beings. You get better and better and better at what you do. But somebody figures this out. They figured out almost serendipitously. What if there's an era of man that we're unaware of where we simply dreamt all the time? And we woke up and we talked about it. Again, the funniest joke about reality is that dreams are almost tantamount to masturbation. You never talk about it. But why not? Why aren't dreams something that every human being talks about to every other human being? I mean, what are you dreaming about? You're probably not dreaming anything macabre. You're not dreaming anything perverted. You're just dreaming. But people don't mention it to each other. It's never happened. The only thing I've ever had sort of mentioned is, again, I've got very close friends of mine. They're very existential beings, and they'll wake up the next day and go, man, I had a weird dream, and it was about an earthquake, and my God, it was so real. So I'm a little paranoid right now. There might be an earthquake today or the next couple of days. Other than that sort of conversation, I'm not aware of that happening. But doesn't that seem ridiculous? I mean, if you're a person like me and you have dreams habitually, I mean, even I don't necessarily walk into rooms because, the reason why I don't do it is that I've shared my dreams so many times with my friends, and it's like I'm talking to complete fucking morons. I'm talking to like fucking mannequin NPC human beings. It's not necessarily that they are, but it's like, okay, so say you don't dream, and I walk in with this vivid dream, and it's got all kinds of wild details and stuff, and people just go, that's great, man. Hey, have you seen this thing on TV? Burp, 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 burp. That's their priority. This other reality that comes out of a television, your Black Mirror, is what is more important than actual human interaction between two people. I think that represents a huge flaw in humanity acknowledging what it really is, because dreams, for me, are proof that we have a soul. And imagine 7 billion plus people on planet Earth talking about it. And let's say you're a person that doesn't have dreams currently, but I suggest this realm to you. I go, look, it's because you are so subscribed to being a human being and not being a spiritual being that you're not having dreams. And you're like, oh, what do you mean? And I take you through all kinds of exercises. I recommend videos that I've made on this channel. I get you divorced for being a human being. I just point you to a bunch of Indian gurus, man. They will teach you, you're not your mind, you're not your body, you are your soul. To the degree you listen and you understand what they're saying, suddenly, when you go to sleep at night, you have a dream. And it's beautiful, and it's wonderful. And then you build on that. And the more you have dreams, and the more that you acknowledge them, especially to other human beings, perhaps in the thousands, all of a sudden, your dreams become like an exercise. You get better and better and bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger. And what ends up happening? You start realizing what you really are. Suddenly, death, which is sort of this, I don't know. I mean, I have to sort of assume that there might be a transformation as I get older. Let's say I live to be 90 years old. And I'm good up to about 88. But last couple of years, I start having some indications of what's going to actually knock me off in the end. maybe, this is my hope, that I maintain intellectual capacity all the way through my death, to the point I'm just kind of going, this is where my lungs stop working. This is where my heart stops working. This is where my brain stops working, whatever. At this current state of my mind, I'm just of the opinion it's like, okay, whatever ends up taking my life in the end, because I will not escape this envelope like anybody. Okay, so I go from potentially a painful vessel, as I get older, to a painless existence. There's no vessel to report any pain to an apparatus called a brain. It is simply a soul that is now floating in pure light with all the other beings that have ever existed, including perhaps maybe a centralized consciousness, which we call God. But even without God, even without some intervening total central control mechanism, this moral compass of the universe, it's still going to be a wonderful place. And it's really drawn from the contrast of what did we think was negative? Well, all the paradigms of Earth were negative. Paying your bills or paying your taxes, whatever the hell it is, getting old, age discrimination, whatever it is, all that's gone. But also your personal id experience on the planet, which is you no longer have a subconscious, you no longer have a body that's aches and pains here and there. You're freed 100%. Again, I don't think it's our goal to simply jump out of our bodies all the time, it got hard, jump out, commit suicide or whatever it is. I don't think that's the game. I think the game is to stay in this, with a moderate level of effort, but not to stay in this realm out of some sheer fear of dying or a love affair that we might have with this universe. Hopefully you have a love affair with being alive as we define it in a human body, such that you want to experience as much as you can before you go. I think that's cool. That's probably how it should be, because there's lessons to be learned every day that you're alive. But just understand that the next phase is probably, who knows? Who knows if it's challenging on the other side or not. But we, I think, owe it to ourselves decades before we actually get to that precipice, that pivotal moment where we transition, we transcend, and we become one with the universe, to recognize that it exists and relieve ourselves of some of the sort of subtextual fears of the transition itself, to make peace with it. There's just a part of me that as I wake up in the morning, and I've had what I would categorize as just a wonderful, rewarding experience within the dream realm. As esoteric or as abstract as it might be, part of me wishes this on every human being that exists. Because I feel like so many people are so wrapped up in being human that they don't enjoy their life. Social media is, for some, an exhibition of how unhappy they are with who they are. I don't know that a vibrant dreaming experience would remove such takes on things, but again, if you just see yourself as some observer of this particular reality, as a visitor of this particular reality, it changes the context of everything. Again, if you were some sort of soul and you were like, hey, I figured I've been traveling through the universe and I found this planet, this plane of existence. And there's these beings down there. They have a whole society unto themselves. They're fascinating. They look kind of funky to me right now. And I have found the birth mechanism, and I figured out how we get into that. It's the same as every other life force in the universe. And I'm going to elect to go into this realm. Maybe you are able to do research to find a really good time frame to be in. You know the experiences you're about to have. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And you choose to go down there. Now, if you have your memory completely wiped as to that rationale that bound you to this body, yeah, it's going to be kind of freaky and kind of strange. You won't be able to talk yourself out of something. Meaning, hey, you shouldn't panic. This is just part of the game that you signed up for. But we're intelligent, right? We make connections. We deduce. We use logic. We can see not only our realm of existence, but other realms of existence. And the fact that as it is below, so too is it above. That applies to not only physics, but the spiritual world as well, perhaps. Why wouldn't it? Are we completely made out of alien logic, and then when we go to a soul logic, it's completely different? Well, I'm sure that a lot of things, are depreciated as we transcend to another realm. But I think it's pretty logical that there's a bunch of this realm that is similar to the other realm. Rationales, thought processes. How could any God teach you in an analogy or a parable if there wasn't truth that was unified between both realms? If God's realm was completely different than human realm, then you couldn't believe any organized religion because it would only matter as you are human. The sins of the soul would be completely different than sins of the flesh. And I think most religions that take a stance on any one of those perspectives combine the two and tell you, hey, as you're making decisions as a flesh-bound being, this is affecting your moral judgment at the end of your journey, your report card at the end of the journey. Now, whether or not there's a hell or something like that, well, I think hell is something that we need the more that we're a primitive culture. You need the hell thing because it kind of keeps everybody in check. But the more that morality and religion is deprecated in our current existence, no one believes in it anyway. They do what they want. But again, the more that you see the ecosystem of our existence, that we're going around and around and around. Whether there's a green room and a nice break in between lives is irrelevant. You come out of this realm, and there's simply one question. Did you know right from wrong? Answer, always yes, unless you're mentally ill, which could happen. Tumor in your brain. You're brought up really weird. But I think the overwhelming majority of the world understands the difference. Now, based on your understanding of good and evil, how did you portray yourself in the world? How did you make decisions? Were they good or were they bad? Did you secretly commit sort of acts of evil to advance yourself in a world? Someone was hurting as a result of you feeling good. I was talking to a very, very close friend of mine, and where she works, there was a switch in the management. And it was sort of a average manager was replaced with an excellent manager. And she said the magic words, and she's never heard, she's listened to quite a few episodes, but she's never heard me say it in an episode because I checked it with her. I said, well, she said to me, she goes, it's so easy to be good. It's so easy to make everybody happy and to give everyone a sense of value, to feel appreciated. And some people are just assholes. And it's all about them, or they don't know what they're doing. And as a result of not knowing what they're doing, they take a more aggressive position towards humanity. And this is the story of my life. Great manager, bad manager. Great manager, bad manager. When I became my own manager of people, I said the exact same thing over and over and over. It is so easy to be a good person, treat people with respect, and to get amazing loyalty and results out of them because we're all part of the same family. Without actually saying it, you get those results. It's a bizarre, amazing, beautiful fact of life. That's why I love small towns. Small towns have accountability built in. Why? Because you're no longer hidden in a big city where you can be an asshole every once in a while and no one's going to know. You can treat someone with total disrespect. You'll never see them again. You're good at what you do. So you're in a little town. It's beautiful. You got to behave, even when you don't want to. But in the end, it's less regret. Anytime you're a jerk when you shouldn't have been, it's regret. And that stuff can haunt you. So do me a favor. When you go to bed at night, I want you to think of yourself as a spiritual being first and foremost. That is your infinite construct. That is what you've always been, and that's why you exist. And it's a beautiful thing. It is your gift from the universe to you that you are what you are. Just realize this consciousness that you have is never, ever, ever going to die. Ever. So treat it as such. The human form, well, think of it as sort of the difference between having the internet record everything that you've ever done and the life before the internet when you could do whatever you wanted to and maybe no one remembers. Well, we've always been in sort of a recorded history. I don't believe in any hell. I believe hell is within you. If you know right from wrong and you have chosen wrong, when you transcend, that will come to bite your ass. But there's not going to be necessarily anyone around you, least of all God, that's going to sit there and remind you every day that you chose the wrong thing. The only being that's going to remind you that you chose someone else's suffering so that you could have pleasure is going to be you, 100%. You don't want that legacy to haunt you. Again, I think you can instantaneously turn around your attitude towards existing, and you can get in the other realm and go, oh my gosh, I was this horrible leader. I was this horrible person. And then when you pick the next life cycle that you're going to have, you're going to be like, okay, I need to learn or have the opportunity to correct this life I just lived, which was really bad. I'm dedicated. I didn't have perspective. Now, again, as a human, you are rolling the dice a little bit. Maybe you even choose the more difficult path, and it's sort of like playing a video game at its hardest level. So there's nothing to really tremendously beat yourself up over the head with, but as a human being, recognize that you have a choice. There's definitely going to be benefits on the other side if you choose to help others, help yourself, be good to yourself, be good to others. But see if you dream a little bit more, the more that you can sort of divorce yourself. I would love to hear, even if it's just a little tiny comment that says, I dream. That's all I need to hear. Let me know in the comments, like, do you dream? If you want to share, I mean, we've got dream episodes in a dream list, right? If you want to have some amazing experiences, just go in there and start reading people's comments, because my gosh, people have had incredible dreams and they're incredibly articulated and able to describe them. So get in there and knock yourself out. I would love to hear it. And on that note, if you haven't been to deepthoughtsradio.com, please go. I'm just going to say everything's on there that you need. I've added a Discord server on there. We'll give that a try. I finally started looking it over, and it's pretty cool. It's like a forum where you might be able to ask me questions or suggest episodes or what have you. As we go into the break between Season 6 and Season 7, I will tell you that the Patreons are going to get episodes 100% during that phase. Because I'm going to sort of hold back great episodes for Season 7, that'll be a place to go to get information, but perhaps we can use Discord to, really communicate during that phase. And I'll put out a few special episodes, sort of B-side episodes during that phase to keep you guys, occupied. But again, if you haven't seen all 600 and plus videos, then you've got a bunch of homework to do. Again, if you dig one episode, you probably dig a whole lot more. To the Patreons, thank you so much, as always. Take care of yourself and someone else, and I'll see you in the next Deep Thoughts. Over now.